Hello and welcome to another episode of Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's gang. Let's meet the panel.
Hi, I'm Larry.
Hi, I'm Jesi.
I'm Ellie.
And I'm Josh, and today we are going to be going over a Sylvia Plath poem called The Colossus. And for the discussion starter, I have this. Throughout the duration of our channel, we have gone over 5 of Sylvia Plath's works. Her novel, The Bell Jar, and 4 of her poems, Daddy, Lady Lazarus, Cut, and Tulips, all of which were from her second, more noteworthy, posthumously released collection, Ariel. This is our first exploration of a poem from her first collection, The Colossus. The poem is from the collection of the same name. Do you feel that this poem is reflective of Plath's more noteworthy poetry? If not, what kind of contrasts have you found?
I don't know if I've read enough to answer.
Yeah, I can't say too certain. I mean, I feel like I read The Bell Jar, and I found that to be a little bit scattered and
Over the top?
Over the top, yes. Whereas I feel like this poem just kind of came off as just sad to me. And I'm not saying that because it's Sylvia Plath and, you know, she's a sad person.
Yeah.
But it just, like, to me, the poem, it took me a while to figure out that she was talking about a massive statue.
Mm-hmm.
And once I figured that out, I was like, oh, well, that's what makes it sad. Like, she's just taking care of this statue as if, and it came across to me that she was taking care of something because she missed it. And I did a little research. Apparently this is supposed to kind of go hand in hand with the Daddy poem. I haven't read Daddy, so I have a feeling it's about her father. And so maybe that's why I'm getting the sad vibe from
That's
it.
one of the approaches that can be...
That's the most popular one.
Yeah, okay, so that, like, I guess it makes sense that I came to that conclusion. But it came to me as sad. She's taking care of a statue that, you know, can't give her anything back, and she just is doing it because she misses that statue.
It's one way of looking at her dad, because she's also viewed him in a very monstrous way as if he was a Nazi and she was a Jew. And she's looked at him, she's angry at him for leaving her so early because of the gangrene that he refused to have treated on his foot.
Yeah, that sounds like my father.
From diabetes.
Nope, I'm pretty sure my dad had gangrene.
But I think that with regard to I think the Colossus is a sad, very manic kind of work. I don't think it is as sad and manic as, or I don't think it's as manic as she has been in the Ariel poetry that I've read, particularly Daddy, Lady Lazarus, Tulips, and her very last few. But I still think that there's a lot that can be said about. There's so many approaches that can be taken. I know that one of them, Ellie and I were talking about. I'll let Ellie bring it up, and I'll add on to it. But I'm pretty much in agreement with it.
Yeah, okay, so Sylvia and her husband, Ted Hughes, used to use a Ouija board to come up with, like, subjects for their poems, as you do.
That's a little strange.
Yeah.
They were a little bit strange, too.
Yeah, and it was, I believe Hughes called it, like, he called the Ouija board the Colossus. And so there's sort of like an idea that the Colossus is kind of like this private god of poetry for Plath, and that this poem is kind of like she's like creatively exhausted, which kind of goes in with the sad.
Okay.
And I guess kind of what you're saying is like she's not getting anything back from it. She's maybe a bit stuck.
I would say that is...
It seems interesting, too, that this was written. I looked it up because I was curious, because she has that one line in there about spending 30 years tending to this statue,
Mm-hmm.
and she was I think about 27 or so when this collection came out.
Yes, it was 1960. So yeah, she was about that age.
So I mean, I took that kind of autobiographically, like whatever she's dealing with here has been with her whole life. So maybe it is that creative spirit that she's writing about here.
Initially, I got reflections from Frankenstein because of that. The first stanza immediately, the idea of pieced, glued, and properly jointed mule bray, pig grunt, and bawdy cackles, which proceed from your great lips. It's worse than a barnyard. Makes it like this piece is a bit of a. It's a freakishly Frankenstein monster-esque work that she no longer has control of.
That speaks, like you just in the way that she describes, and then I guess what I took from it is that it's blind too, right? Like 'cause it's got tombstones over the eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So, just those two characteristics I think are pretty interesting. It's a blind thing that speaks animal noises.
Mm-hmm. And that's I think that's what the piece what it has become. Maybe probably from the view of Plath, perhaps a sense of insecurity with her own work, because there are many cases where a writer is not satisfied with either the finished product or the response that this finished product gets. And Sylvia Plath herself was always very. She had major issues as far as her self-confidence was concerned.
See, I just pictured like a very tiny girl or woman just on a ladder polishing a dirty statue, like just constantly going like this, and then when it would get cold and the wind would blow, she'd hide in the ear and then just like go back to kind of polishing. And I don't know if that was just my own mind like coming up with something weird, but
that's
like that's how I just
it.
kind of pictured it. As
It's interesting that this is the poem that represents the collection. This is the Colossus. The collection is the Colossus. This is a representative of just about everything else that's in this collection. And
so I guess it would make good sense.
what she put
to do,
into
like, a
it,
creative thing.
the monster per se that it has become, and I think, as Ellie said, it pretty much it took a lot out of her, and she didn't get much out of it.
And she's in its shadow, it seems.
Yeah,
toward
she
the
is.
end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which the fact that this collection, something compared to something like this, she would be a speck that you can't even see. Maybe this little thing right here. But
What about eating lunch in the black cypress among the black cypress trees? Does that mean anything? Did you guys get anything from that? 'Cause I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
That I kind of forgot about, to be honest. Like I said, I just pictured a massive statue that she
I
was
think
just
it's-
polishing.
I think it's just her being consumed by continuing to contribute to this Colossus and just being consumed by its impact.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
she can't even eat in a like comfortable place. Maybe
That may be the
Yeah, it's like she's got to be there
within
with
so
it.
close to it all the
Mhm.
time
Yeah.
because it's so much work to keep it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very interesting to see the way that this was interpreted. Some people interpreted it as a something against misogyny, or something against the misogyny. There was the arguments about it being having to do with her dad. There's the mythological mention. Yeah, those are just so many of the ways that this poem can be perceived. I prefer the one that has to do with the efforts of the creator and the strain that comes with putting it together, whether it be whether it be just a general creative train of thought, or if it's the emotion and feelings and hardships that go into its creation.
I agree. I think it makes a lot of sense through that lens.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
would
really
say
like Jesi's image as well, though. Like,
No.
the fob. Oh,
yeah,
The
that would be like
polishing of
a
the
really cute,
statue.
like,
That's
I
a
don't
good way
know,
to
like a
read
short
it.
movie or
That-
something.
oh, yeah,
I mean, I
that would be
had
the way I would-
kind of imagery when I was
Yeah.
reading it. It's like it's definitely there, but it's like it's got to be more than just a statue. There's
Yeah,
gotta be
that's
something.
that's why I was like, that's why I actually went and researched it, because I googled it. I was like, am I missing something? Like, why is she sadly polishing a massive statue? Like, so I did look it up, and I found that a lot of people did like compare it to Daddy, which, like I said, I haven't read. So I'm like, okay, this, if they're comparing it to Daddy, chances are maybe, you know, her father or something, and she misses him. But then you go and say the whole terrible things. So I'm like, now I don't even know what to think.
Alrighty then. Any final thoughts?
I'm good.
Alrighty. If you're interested in checking this out and more of her poetry, there's a complete collection out there. But I got these two Faber editions, the Colossus and Ariel, from the Book Garden for $1.50 each. I didn't intend to incorporate Sylvia Plath into my collection, but I couldn't turn this down for $1.50 each. This is too good to have.
You can't turn down a book that's only $1. You really can't.
And these editions, once these go, there's the chances of them coming back are slim. So, thank you for tuning in to this video. Be sure to join us next time for another episode of Literary Gladiators. For now, keep reading.